You think you're building a business, but what if I told you you might also be breaking the law? Not because you're shady, not because you're reckless, but because the legal system doesn't care if you didn't know. Today on Due Process Daily, we're exposing the top 5 laws entrepreneurs break all the time without even realizing it. These aren't minor slip-ups. These are the kinds of mistakes that shut down startups, bankrupt founders, and trigger lawsuits you never saw coming. Let's start with number 1. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Operating without proper licensing. Look, forming an LLC is great. It gives you a layer of liability protection. It sounds professional, but it's not a permission slip. That food truck needs a health permit. That online store might need a seller's permit in multiple states. That coaching business, depending on what you're offering, you might be walking right into unlicensed therapy territory without knowing it. I'll give you a real example. A woman in Texas started a wellness coaching business. No diagnoses, just advice. She was sued by the state's licensing board for practicing psychology without a license. She thought she was just coaching. The state disagreed. Another example, nail salons and barbershops. You'd be surprised how many entrepreneurs open without a cosmetology license, or rent chairs to others without proper leasing or business licenses. And let's not forget, if you're operating in multiple states, especially online, some states require what's called a foreign entity registration. It basically means you need to register as a business in their state, even if you're never physically there. Bottom line, just because your business is digital doesn't mean the law is. So, yeah, that little Shopify store you run from your apartment, it might be breaking laws in 3 states, and you'd have no idea until you get a notice. Second, we've got misclassifying workers. This one's a silent killer for small businesses. A lot of founders think, I'll just hire 1,099s instead of employees. Less paperwork, cheaper, no taxes. And yeah, it seems easier until it blows up in your face. The IRS has a strict test to determine whether someone is an employee or contractor. It's not about what you call them, it's about how much control you have over their work. If you're telling them where to work, when to clock in, what tools to use, and checking their work every day, you're treating them like an employee. Period. Misclassification opens the floodgates. It's unpaid payroll taxes, fines from the IRS and state agencies, overtime pay claims, lawsuits for benefits you didn't provide, workers' comp violations, and possible criminal charges if it's willful. Let me give you a real case. FedEx. They classified their drivers as independent contractors. But the courts disagreed. After multiple lawsuits, FedEx paid hundreds of millions in back pay and settlements. Now imagine that, but on a small business budget. You're not surviving that hit. Here's a test. Would your contractor's work fall apart if you didn't give them instructions every day? If the answer is yes, they're probably not a contractor. Protect yourself. Don't try to hack employment law. It doesn't end well. Number 3, breaking advertising laws. This one's a content creator's nightmare. Entrepreneurs love to market. It's what grows a business, but marketing is heavily regulated, especially in industries like health, finance, or coaching. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, has rules that say if you make a claim in an ad, you have to back it up. And that means no get-rich-quick promises, no fake before and after photos, no double your income in 30 days unless you can prove that's a normal result for your clients. Even testimonials are regulated. If you say, my client made $100,000 after working with me, you better have proof that's typical, or you need a disclaimer like, results not typical. There was a famous case with Herbalife. FTC fined them $200 million for deceptive income claims. And they're a giant. Smaller businesses have been hit too. One Shopify seller got fined for fake reviews on their website. Another influencer promoting supplements got hit for promoting health benefits without FDA approval. If you're writing copy making claims or hyping up results, stop and ask yourself, can I actually prove this? Because marketing speak can turn into a legal problem real fast. Fourth, violating privacy laws. This one is way bigger than most entrepreneurs realize, especially in the age of data-driven marketing. Let's say you have a landing page with an email opt-in. You run Facebook ads, track user behavior, maybe retarget your visitors with Google ads. Pretty normal, right? But here's the problem. If you're collecting personal data, names, emails, phone numbers, even cookies, you have to follow strict privacy laws. Ever heard of GDPR? That's the European Union's data law. Even if you're in the US, if you get a visitor from Europe and you're not compliant, you can be fined. California has the CCPA. It gives consumers the right to know what data you collect and request that you delete it. If your site doesn't have a compliant privacy policy, you're already in violation. And there's CAN spam. That's the US email marketing law. If you're sending marketing emails without permission or without an unsubscribe link, you can be fined $43,000 per email. Let that sink in. Per email. A small business in Colorado got fined $20,000 by their state's attorney general for sending marketing emails without opt-in consent. That wasn't spam, that was just lazy email collection. And don't even think about tracking users with the Facebook Pixel or Google Analytics unless you've got a cookie consent banner. Those trackers are considered data processors under most privacy laws. You don't need to be Facebook to get sued like one, you just need a website. And finally, number 5, ignoring securities laws. Here's where most founders get blindsided. You've got an idea, you want to build something, so you ask your rich uncle for $25,000. You tell him, I'll give you 10% of the company later when we're big. Maybe you write something up in Google Docs. That's a security. Doesn't matter that it's your uncle. Doesn't matter if it's only $25,000. Doesn't matter if you're not on the stock market. If you're raising money in exchange for equity or a promise of future profits, you're issuing securities. That triggers the Securities Act of 1933. You either have to register with the SEC or qualify for an exemption. And even the exemptions like Rule 506B or regulation crowdfunding have strict rules. Mess that up, you could be forced to return the money. You could be barred from raising again. You could face fines. In some cases, you could face criminal liability. Here's a real case. A startup founder in Florida raised money from local investors, friends of friends, no big venture capital, but he didn't file the right forms. State regulators shut him down. He had to return all the funds, lost his business, and was barred from serving as an officer in any company for years. If you're raising money from anyone, friend, family, angel investor, you better talk to a securities lawyer, because one wrong move can make all your funding illegal. So let's recap the top 5 laws entrepreneurs break without knowing. 1, operating without proper licenses or permits. 2, misclassifying employees as contractors. 3, false or misleading advertising. 4, violating privacy laws. And 5, breaking securities laws during fundraising. The biggest threat isn't that you're doing something illegal on purpose, it's that you don't even realize you are. And the law doesn't care if it was an honest mistake. I'm not saying you need a lawyer for every Instagram post or every invoice, but I am saying this: if you're serious about building a real business, one that lasts, one that scales, one that doesn't get wiped out by a letter from the state, you need to get serious about the law. No, not become a lawyer. Just stop flying blind. Get a privacy policy. Stop making wild marketing claims. Classify your team correctly. Register your fundraising properly. Get your licenses in order. It doesn't matter if you're a coach, designer, dropshipper, agency owner, or just selling digital templates on Etsy. These laws don't care how small you are, and ignoring them doesn't make them disappear. So if you're building something worth protecting, protect it. Do it right now, while you're still small. Because once you grow, once you're successful, that's when the government comes knocking. Thanks for joining us today at Due Process Daily. Throw us a like and consider subscribing to the channel to help us grow.